Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. We are live. I'm very excited because my parents will be joining the show today. It's going to be a lot of fun, but first we have some serious news to get through regarding Nick Carter. Backstreet Boy Nick Carter has had some really nasty allegations against him, but today he is fighting back. He is now countersuing his accuser, claiming it's a smear campaign and a shakedown. So let's break down his response. Before we go there, it's sort of important to go back and look through what he's been accused of. There's actually multiple charges. One was actually thrown back. Before we get to the woman at hand, Shannon Ruth, who's the one who's doing this new accusation, previously he was accused of the R word in 2003 by dream singer Melissa Schumann. Now, this is important to know because Nick's argument's going to bring Melissa into this, so I wanted you guys to have the full story. She claimed it happened during 2003. Again, sorry for the keywords. The R word, I can't say this with YouTube's issues, but, you know, really, really bad crime. And she accused this happened when she was 18 after they were hanging out. And Nick provided liquor and would you like to come to my office type of scenario. They started kissing. But he was unaware that I was a virgin and that I had religious, conservative Christian values. I was vocal about this. Everyone knew this, including those who repped me. She got uncomfortable as then Nick brought her to the bathroom where she alleges he picked her up and proceeded to unbutton and continue without permission. This went on. Details, we don't need to get into the details. They're not great details. Her allegations are pretty strong. However, this never really amounted to anything. It's very confusing whether she pressed charges. She, I guess, made a report, but nothing was ever found. Nothing was ever done. And then it was after the limitations wore out where she became more vocal and then couldn't sue, in which the district attorney at the time said, that there was just nothing. Their analysis of the strengths and weakness of the evidence is not warranted, and the matter was declined. So this case was then pushed behind. Nick was then free to move on, and she continued to sort of make claims, but never really followed through on them in ways that she could actually pursue. So this was sort of put out there. Now, that's important to know because these new claims are coming in from another fan. This would have been during the Black and Blue tour, according to my Backstreet Boys reps, who are reminding me of the timeline of Backstreet Boys albums. But she was a young autistic pop fan who suffers from cerebral palsy. And she's now lodged some really intense allegations against the singer. And I remember when I saw them, it gave me questions. Now, she was a teen. The singer denies this, obviously. But she says, and she did a tearful press conference on Facebook with her attorneys, the last 21 years have been filled with pain, confusion, frustration, shame, self-harm that are a direct result of Nick Carter R-ing me. Even though I'm autistic and live with cerebral palsy, I believe that nothing has affected me more than what Nick Carter did and said to me. He tried to scare me into silence. He was nasty and threatening and left bruises on my arm, wiping tears. I felt like I had nowhere to turn to, no way to express my emotion. I truly believe that if I had told anyone, I'd go to jail. I struggle with blaming myself because I got on the bus with Nick. My motivation was coming forward and filing this lawsuit is to stop Nick from doing this to more teens and women. She said she knows other women have similar stories, and her hope is to hold Nick Carter accountable. According to the court docs, Shannon was invited by Nick on a tour bus after a concert in Tacoma, Washington, while waiting in the autograph line. The docs, she was 16, I believe. I'm shocked it doesn't say it yet. How old was sort of important here. I think she was 16. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong. Asking how old was she? Sorry, I want to make sure I get this correct, guys. Let's see. So anyway, she then was given a cranberry juice, a red colored drink that he called VIP juice. She drank it even though she was underage and didn't want it. She now believes it was a mix of alcohol and cranberry. She then says he took her to the bathroom in the bus of the bus bathroom and ordered her to perform acts on him. She claimed she was crying, but he kept going. Then described Nick took her. It continued further, and she allegedly she allegedly said she'd tell people about what he did. The doc said he threatened. The document said he threatened he'd turn people against her, nor would they believe her, calling her a ard little bee. The alleged victim, virgin at the time, per the lawsuit, claims she contracted HPV, seeking monetary damages for the alleged crime. Now, he's denied this. It is still, I mean, I don't know. My big question was always, well, like no one was watching a line full of fans and security or someone. There's not somebody there who could have a test. Why were you taking this 16-year-old fan with cerebral palsy into your bus for all this time? Is there any sort of backup to this? Because this is horrifying, right? You'd think, how was he left with those devices? And through contacts I've spoken to who have vetted and proved to me that were on that tour, they tell me it would have been impossible for Nick to do that during the Black and Blue tour because of previous allegations. The whole crew knew that no Backstreet Boy was allowed to ever hang with fans because of these wild allegations that were out there. So I'm going to try and bring this crew member on in an upcoming show so we can really exclusively hear from them, prove it, show you what they knew and what they were told by these tour people, because from what I'm gathering, it does seem a little fishy. I obviously want to hear these accusations. We want to hear it all out, but we got to hear all the facts. And so to know someone I trust who was there in that tour, it just feels weird. No one would have seen this. And again, with this serious of an allegation, the dancers, the crew, they're not paid like the record executives and the agents that would protect him. So why wouldn't somebody be coming forward to be like, yeah, he was on this bus with all these kids all the time. It was disgusting. We said something. Nobody, like, what's stopping that from happening if this is true? Because if this is true, speak up, crew, speak up, dancers. This woman needs your help. And if it's not, then we're going to talk to the crew who can sort of help us realize, well, what's actually going on here. Now, according to Nick, today's updates, now that you have sort of the backstory of everything, so you guys can make up your own mind, he is now countersuing, and this is a pretty big move back. He's countersuing the accuser, claiming it's a smear campaign and a shakedown. Says the woman accusing him over 21 years ago when she was a minor is deliberately dragging his name through the mud with a series of lies, and he's now going after her in court for more than $2.35 million, which is what he says is the cost the boy band has now lost due to this accusations. He filed this on Thursday. Today, TMZ broke the story. Ruth initially sued Nick. Obviously, we just went through that, but these new documents say Nick won't allow himself to be smeared by Ruth's accusations, which he vehemently denies and says her lawsuit is a culmination of a years-long conspiracy to take him down. Now, this is Melissa, the first girl I talked about, the one from Dream. He's alleging that Ruth, this new woman, has been coached by the father and Melissa, the girl from Dream, to make these false claims about him as part of an extortion attempt. He also blasts all three for trying to take advantage of the Me Too movement. Carter says Ruth has changed her story over and over. He says she initially claimed she was abused by someone else, then claimed Nick did it, and ultimately accused Nick of SA. Nick says the Schumans have been coaxing Ruth to inflate her allegations. We've seen that happen before. So Nick points out Ruth waited years to report this allegation and says an independent investigation resulted in no criminal charges. He says Ruth tried to extort him through civil attorneys who abandoned her case when presented with the cold, hard facts. Nick says as a result of Ruth's lawsuit, the Backstreet Boys had to cancel appearances, endorsement deals, and it's cost them more than $2 million. Now, this is where things get interesting because Nick's brother, Aaron, has gone on record and accused his brother of being a artist, of saying that he's done this to multiple people. The problem with this is Aaron was not the most reliable narrator. He had his own substance abuse issues. He had a lot of emotional problems, as we all have learned. And it's very unclear what was really factual and what Aaron was putting out there. But Nick is saying, to add to it, in case anyone's like, yeah, but what about Aaron? What did Aaron, the brother? Why was his own brother throwing him under the bus? Well, Nick's saying that his late brother Aaron was also dragged into the conspiracy. Nick claims Ruth and the Schumans preyed on Aaron before his death when he was beefing with Nick and on drugs, exploiting Aaron's fragile condition and family stresses to cloak their defamatory campaign with credibility, relentlessly and repeatedly using Aaron to try and legitimize their frivolous tales. But Nick says Aaron ultimately realized he was being used and manipulated by Ruth and the Schumans, apologizing to Nick and publicly stating that the accusers were lying. The day Aaron died, Nick claims Jerome, the father of of Melissa, tweeted, "I am sad that the chess game we started together was never finished." Weird tweet. When TMZ called Nick's attorney, he told them, As our counterclaim sets out and in detail, Nick has been the target of a malicious and long-running conspiracy. He has never done the outrageous things of which he's been accused. In fact, he is the victim of a calculated and concerted disinformation campaign designed to destroy his reputation. He looks forward to sitting out the truth, vindicating himself in court, and putting an end to the smears and attempted shakedowns for good. We reached out to Ruth's attorneys. So far, no word back. So there you go. Interesting turn of events for sure. I really want to get this expert on record to give us more insight on these accusations, because obviously these are big charges and we want to make sure we're hearing it all out. But when you go through the one on the bus, when you go through the previous one, they don't seem to really hold up. And if they are really working together, I don't know. It's a bad look. Why would they be talking together, comparing their stories? Just because they think, they're relating on the story of he's a bad guy. By them working together, their stories could start bleeding together. And that's where I feel like it gets problematic. It's always more effective when multiple people are coming forward with their own stories that don't know. And then you line them up together like, well, that is a pattern. Are they trying to make it look like it's a pattern? We don't have any other evidence here. This is the evidence we have. I am going to try to bring that crew member in to give us more insight, because they say this could have never happened given the strong security that was put in place because of Melissa, because of this previous accuser. In fact, and I want to get this to hear it from the source themselves, they're saying they were told to avoid her at all costs because she was doing this to multiple people on the crew. Per them. So I want to get more of that information. Stay tuned. As I get them ready, we will bring that to you exclusively here on Popcorn Planet. So if you haven't already, do me a favor. If you're watching live or on the replay, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for all alerts, and smash that like button. I know a lot of you guys aren't getting notified, so let me know down below in the comments if you aren't. If you didn't get this, I know a lot of you'd get them late into our show, and I apologize. I've been trying to speak to YouTube. It's frustrating. We're doing what we can do. I'm working on some other means to give you guys better notifications, but I appreciate you guys bearing with it, and I appreciate you guys watching. We got so much more to talk about in this live. In fact, I'm about to bring my parents out. They're going to be sitting here in studio, and we're just going to hang with you guys and talk about more news. So I hope you guys will watch, and if you missed it again, hit that join button. Hit the join, become a member. You'll be able to watch my parents stream, meet the parents. Man, if only we had a lie detector like the movie. That'd be fun, huh? Well, we'll do something fun, so stay tuned. They're about to be here. I appreciate you guys, though, for watching here on the live. If you're watching live, don't go anywhere. If you're watching on the replay, click on these.